Yeah, I agree with you there, Dave, with that. And you mentioned that the conversation you have with Rebecca,
Yeah.
which that conversation for me came out of nowhere. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah.
Were you open to her asking for forgiveness, or did you respond snarkily or something like that?
Me?
I
No.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm looking at
Looking
everybody at
at
this
you
point.
because you have the answers.
I would like Kathleen to answer that. She looked
I look at the
the
camera, and
look on her
that's where
face. I
we're at.
kind of want to
You
hear
guys
what she
expect the
thinks.
worst from me. No, I did accept the apology. I really, my whole opinion of Rebecca changed a lot, and
Mm.
I realized like I really should have had more leniency with her because she is probably experiencing crazy pregnancy hormones,
Oh
and
yeah, that too.
I have
Yeah.
seen women that are normally super sweet become pregnant and just become monsters because like they're in so much
Tornado.
pain, and so I'm just like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, you're hungry and you're in pain, so, you probably said some mean things that you didn't mean, so.
Oh, and all the stress she's going over.
So
that
much
crypto
for
is going
evil
through and all that.
Kathleen.
Yeah.
That's the second apology I didn't see coming.
Hmm.
And again, I love that in Telltale games because you don't have the full picture of all the characters.
Yeah.
I talked about this a little bit in my LP that you lack perspective. You don't know these characters, so the only thing you can do to judge them is you can see what they're doing, what they're saying, but you don't know their background, so you can't really you can assume things, but you can't know things.
Yeah.
And that's correct with Rebecca's character that, suddenly she's really nice. She's a sweet girl. But you
I
couldn't really see that coming.
I agree with what you're saying, Dave. For me, however, I felt that the complete 180 change in the way that Rebecca started treating Clementine, I thought was a little unrealistic for me. Like, I understand that when you're pregnant, as Kathleen said,
Mood swings.
it affects you have mood swings that affects your personality, which is why I feel like, yes, it does make sense for her to start trusting Clementine and being nicer to her, but I thought it happened too quickly. Like, I thought that it would have been better if they made that more of a gradual thing. So that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why it put me off a little bit.
I was gonna say I agree with Angel Arts. It seemed a little too quick that she went from episode 1 this mean, hateful who didn't trust you, didn't like you, anything, and then episode 2 she starts to warm up and says I apologize. I felt that was a little too realistic. Maybe
Yeah.
when and I'm gonna save that for later, when they get to that place, I'm gonna say, then I thought that would have been a good position.
One thing that I observed, and I don't know how many of you, it's a theory of mine, but she starts talking to Clementine about her baby and about choosing a name for the baby. And
Oh.
I kind of like chuckled a little bit because it wasn't by my choice. The Clementine just did it autonomously. She's in the middle of asking Clem's opinion, and she just blows her off and walks away.
Oh.
And then she's like, Clem, and but thinking back on it, I think the reason why she did that, why Clementine did that, is because the last time somebody was asking her about the names of a baby was with Omid and Krista. So
Oh,
I think the reason she walked away was not because she was trying to spite Rebecca, but it was more because she didn't want to relive. It made her think about of Omid
Krista.
and Krista and little Omid Jr. So
Do you think it's like she doesn't want to grow too attached to the idea of that in case it happens again?
possibly, yeah. I think that might be part of the reason why. So I don't know if any of you thought the same thing, but it was something I kind of picked up a little bit when I was watching that scene. We get to the bridge.
The river, the bridge. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes in this part. It was definitely the most intense for me.
Let's talk about Clementine and Luke first. Like when they decide we're gonna go to the bridge together.
I
Go
love
ahead.
I love their chemistry between the two of them. Just their whole like when you're approaching, he says, "I'll take the big one, you take the little one, and you can choose." I like their banter back and forth because it's funny because Luke I definitely think is the most like survivalist. He definitely seems like one of the most capable out of the group
Yeah.
as far as getting in the rustle and tussle. And you have like a guy who I think is at least in his late 20s.
You think Luke's in his
Talking-
late 20s?
He looks like in his early mid-20 area. He looks to
Yeah,
be
I
in
think
his 20s.
I wouldn't put him older than mid-20s. I'd put him
Yeah,
like 21, 22, maybe
22,
25.
I thought 20.
Really, I think he looks like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm
28 maybe?
24, and I don't know. I guess I'm young looking
Guy-
for my age.
I was gonna say 25, 26.
Guy in his
Yeah.
20s range,
Yeah.
talking as an equal to an 11-year-old girl half his
Right.
height. I thought that was an interesting dynamic there, like because he seemed to be the person out of the entire group who trusted you the most, or thought
Yeah.
that you were most capable.
I think part of that was like him being kind of the cool older kid, because like that's one thing that I think some people do. Sometimes I would do that when I'm babysitting. I'm just like, you try to act like
You're their friend.
Yeah, you're their friend, but you know that they don't completely understand, So maybe it was just kind of him, like, being like, yeah, I understand you, but at the same time, not cutting her down or saying that she's too young to understand,
Yeah.
But it would definitely hurt me. It would definitely hurt a lot for me if they killed him off at some point in future episodes.
They better not. He's my favorite.
You better be careful.
Don't get me started. Omid was my favorite. Don't get me started.
I actually have to. I don't know if it's disagree or agree with Lucky Jack, but I have to say I felt a different connection between Luke and Clementine. I felt like it was more of like a family bond. They were like, not like by blood, but you could say like they treat each other like he's the older brother, he's the little sister. They treat each other like they really could connect with each other the most.
Because he was one of the first nice people that she saw again after being separated from everyone else.
Yeah, until he dropped her when he saw a bite mark.
Yeah, but then,
Yeah, but I think that makes perfect sense, and I don't think that Luke would have been able to survive as long as he did if he didn't, if he wasn't cautious.
Fair enough, yeah.
I just think he's a very good judge of character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he sees Clementine not as a kid, but as a capable human being.
Yeah.
She's proven herself several times. So
Yeah,
especially on that bridge scene.
I love, as Lucky Jack was saying, I love the interactions and the banter between the two of them, because while Clementine and Lee had a very father-daughter kind of relationship, I agree with Carson that I see Lee and Clementine having a older brother, younger sister kind of
Wait,
thing
Lee and
going.
Clementine?
I'm sorry, Luke and Clementine. Luke and Clementine having an older brother, younger sister, which is interesting because originally, when they were making season 1 of The Walking Dead, the writers, their early writings had you controlling Clementine's brother and not Lee.
Oh.
And then it wasn't until later on that they decided to pitch that idea, and then they created Lee instead because they specifically wanted someone who didn't have those past ties to Clementine. They kind of wanted that to develop over time.
Though that would have been
That was a
interesting.
smart call.
That would have been interesting, I will say. I like what they did with Lee, of course, but that would have been interesting to have that happen.
But I think they're revisiting that now with Luke, which may indicate that Luke hopefully will be sticking around a little bit longer. It's hard to say, but...
Oh, those assumptions are dangerous.
Yeah, those are something that are very dangerous.
At least to episode 3, because episode 3 typically has been like the big hump episode where they start getting serious. So at least until episode 3 or 4, keep them around.
Yeah.
So the bridge.
The bridge, I thought, was the most action-packed of the entire, let's say, episode, because I don't know why, but for some reason, Luke and Clem got scared because the zombies started to surround them, like, in 2 areas. I'm thinking, there's one right behind you, go get one, and then you go kill the 2, and then Luke says, go get that one in the back, you go get those 2. I was like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
Hold on. Maybe you should get those 2, because I'm smaller.
I saw the whole me walking on those floorboards. Yep, now there you go. I told you. Those are weak. They set it up. Don't walk on the floorboards of a bridge. Cinematically, they will break.
They definitely worked well together, I thought. That was what that scene was supposed to establish, that they were starting to become a team, very much like Lee and Clementine were.
Yeah.
Can you lose Luke?
No, not at that point.
Like if you chose to hit them with the pipe instead of using, because I grabbed the machete so I could save the pipe for saving him later.
Yeah.
I don't think you can lose Luke at that point.
Okay.
We'll have to find out in the future.
One of my here's a question for you guys before you continue past this. One of the coworkers had a little bit of a criticism in that it was hard for them to believe that when it came down to Luke asking Clementine to come with him on the bridge, they weren't really sure how realistic that was because Luke could have easily just gone by himself, and my coworkers were like, that probably would have made more sense. Like, why are we also sending Clementine in for reconnaissance as well?
Buddy system?
Do you think that was... Yeah, well, that's the thing. Do you guys agree that was realistic or not realistic?
These are your coworkers or Telltale?
My coworker... Well, as Kathleen said in the last podcast, there's up for debate whether or not my coworkers work for Telltale or not. But
I actually think, again, he's a good judge of character, and he wants a capable person with him just to help him out, if something happens like floorboards crashing down.
So what you're saying, David, is that Luke doesn't see Clementine as a little girl. He sees her as a person. And
yeah, totally. At least in a survival position, in a situation like that, a person he can trust.
Apparently, before all that, he saw her as less of a liability than Nick.
Than Nick.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that he opted to have Clementine before even considering Nick.
Yeah, he's not only is she capable in a survival situation, she's also very strong-willed and strong-minded, so she doesn't freeze up. So yeah.
I guess when you've been in an apocalypse situation like that, you tend to stop seeing people as by their age necessarily, or like stop judging people by their age and look at them more of their capability and what they've been able to do in the past. So
I think I got an answer for that now. Finally, for your coworkers, I think it was good for Clementine to go with Luke. If Nick had gone, it would have been a very different situation. Because in that conversation where they're walking to the bridge, I don't know if we talked about it. I don't think we did. We
can move on to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, he asked, "What is the most important thing?" I thought it was safety at first. He's like, "Oh, you're close," but no, I was like, "Family, exactly." And I was like, "Okay, how is family super important?" He's like, "You gotta look out for one another." I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's right." But
Trust and
if I'm getting those two mixed up. If Luke kept hanging by himself and that floorboard had fallen, I'm pretty much predicting those zombies would have fallen through that gap and they would have chowed down on Nick doing. No,
Luke.
Damn it,
Luke.
Luke!
Yeah. I'm just.
Damn you, Nick! They would have chowed down on Luke and they would have never heard from him again. That's my opinion, of course.
Okay.
So now we get to the random
Other
guy
side.
on the bridge. Random guy on the bridge.
His name is. We learned his name. Oh crap! Spoilers. His name was Matthew, right?
It's Matthew.
That's fine. We can say his name is Matthew. We learn that later. And Luke saying, "You do the talking.
Yeah.
You do the
It's like,
talking."
what? I was like, wait, what? And Clementine both sound like, wait, what? Hold on.
So, well, I first tried to approach it from like a negotiating standpoint. I think I tried to see what he was doing, and eventually we all calmed down, and he said that he had food, and I think the first thing she did was assure him that we didn't want any trouble. And so after that he lowered his weapon and it wasn't a big deal. And so then he offered food, and and then Nick comes in. So.
Yeah.
Was that little girl talking, the negotiating part, the little girl in you?
Yeah, that was the little girl in me, the negotiating little girl.
Because I laughed at when he's all right, Clem, you do the talking. I was like, wait, what? You're the old one. Why shouldn't I? Why do you? Because he's gonna kill me if you don't.
Yeah.
No, because what, you think he's gonna shoot a little girl? I was like, actually, I know several people. He's like, people who shoot girls. I know several people who would shoot a little girl right now, actually.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But Nick, ever the social grace in conversations that he is.
Does anyone here agree with what Nick ended up doing? Anyone here?
No.
No, I did not agree with him. He was definitely he was jumpy. He was definitely way too presumptuous.
If Matthew, it turned out, was lying and was actually, had some ulterior motive or was trying to lead you into a trap, would your opinion of what Nick did have changed?
It might
No.
have.
I still feel if I was to do that, if I was to metagame, I still would look at Nick and say what reason did you have to do that immediately? Because either way, you're already giving everyone a bad name in this group if you just shoot people on sight. Because then then we're assuming he's no better than Carver. And I was from that perspective, I was like, still you should at least hold on to that bit of humanity as that sort of choice. And
Matthew didn't have his rifle up.
Right.
Nick was the first one to pull out his rifle.
He was, even
So-
though he
Then
claimed
Matthew pulled out
otherwise.
his rifle in
Yeah.
self-defense.
But I have to say, it's quite suspicious for a random stranger to come up in the apocalypse and offer free food.
Yeah, it is.
I was super suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
I've got candy, kids.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
But-
candy
Like,
in the van.
who walks up and just offers free food? And I think that's a kind of a theme for this episode.
It's a red flag, but I agree that I don't think it warrants outright shooting him.
Oh
You
no,
know,
of course
but-
not. No, no.
at least shoot him in the leg.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind action. Bam.
So
Right towards the neck too. That was
That was bad.
Ooh.
Then he fell.
the
and
fall would have killed him regardless.
yeah,
So,
And but this is what I thought. I think when Nick shot Matthew, I'm going to call him the stranger.
yes,
I was like, went with you during the first intro of this game. I stuck out for you. I tried to help you get through, and now you're trying to screw me over like this.
God.
What the hell is
Yeah.
with you, Nick?
gosh, dang it, Nick! What did you
people
do?
are people are calling Nick the Ben of this season.
No.
Do you guys
No,
agree
no,
or disagree?
I
I
completely
don't.
agree with that.
No, because we learned Ben had way. It was.
I would say Ben was more of the coward.
Ben was more of a coward. Okay.
Yeah, Nick is
I
actually
just
very.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I dislike Nick more. So
Then Ben.
yes.
Okay.
I actually have a different opinion. I think Nick would be more of the Lily, as I'm stating here, because Lily was a little bit of a
Oh.
trigger-happy woman, and she shot before she thought. Like, and a good example was this one. I'm going to use Angel Arches. Sorry,
Ah,
is when Doug is all defensive and just
Oh,
sneaks out, bam, shoots Doug in the face, and I remember your reaction even to this day.
and the reason, if you remember, I think the reason why Lily became a little more of a shoot before you think person is because of the death of her father.
Yeah,
And now
Yes,
that Nick is
it's
dealing
after-
with the death of his uncle.
Father
You know,
figure in this.
and-
and that's why I thought those two connect.
Yeah, plus the death of his mother earlier on. So.
Hmm.
So when you think about it, I think Nick went through more than what Lily probably went through, which is really terrible.
Probably,
So-
yeah. With them, we rejoin, and then we end up going to the shack. However, before we go to the shack, we end up talking to Nick briefly. And that's when you learn about him killing his mom if you didn't learn about it before. The other thing he mentions, though, is his watch. And I made a comment about this in my LP because I remember seeing this watch in the house when I was sneaking around in episode 1. And I made a conscious decision to not pick the watch up.
Oh, you could have
because-
picked the watch up.
You could have picked up the watch,
Oh,
but
and then you could-
I specifically did not pick up the watch on purpose because I was like, I'm not gonna steal from these people.
Because they would notice. They would
Yeah. So I thought I was doing the right thing by not
That
taking the
sounds good,
watch. However, if the watch was in your possession, then during that conversation you could have given it to Nick and earned brownie points because he really wanted Pete's watch and you were able
we
to
have-
give it to him.
Do we have footage of how that affects it, or?
I think I saw someone's Let's Play where, yeah, I mean, he's very grateful to you, and it was another one of those Nick will remember that kind of things. But yeah, I think you earn approval of points. Like, if it was Dragon Age, you'd see Nick approval plus 10. And then Clementine is asked by all of the adults to go investigate the shack.
Again, all trust. 11-year-old girl. Seems like a fine thing.
So
I'm sure this guy was alone. It turns out he was, but I'm like, my logic. I'm sure this guy was alone. I'm sure it's fine to send her in there.
So Clementine goes in. You see what appears to be where Matthew lived. At the time, I thought that's legitimately where he lived. That's where he stayed, which is why I didn't see what came later with that character. I didn't see it all, but many other people did.
Same. I didn't.
And she eventually finds the knife with the initials MW. Again, I knew that those initials would be significant at some point, but I didn't know.
So soon.
I didn't know when.
Wait, I might have been the idiot of this whole group, and it probably am. I did not notice those initials at all with the knife. I was more like, whoa, this is a badass knife. I know this.
Ooh, pointy.
I will admit, okay, I'll admit, when I first saw them, first thing I thought was, upgrade!
That's true.
The hammer lost, but no, then I did know, it's like, oh, there's always a point to everything. But for now, let's open this crate with this combat knife.
Yeah, you open the crate, and then you saw the peaches and the
Is that going to be a
book.
thing? Are they doing some sort of not running gag, but is that supposed to be some big thing later with the whole her looking like the Peaches mascot?
That's a good question.
Because they did that
Maybe
not
it's
once but
just a-
twice with
I thought
two
it was a
different
crappy
people.
drawing of her.
Maybe
they
just
did-
to play off of her name. I mean, fruit. I don't know. Clementine.
Well, I think it was a-
Oh,
it
that's
didn't seem
true. I
like
never
it was
thought
a-
of that. Like, clementine
Wait,
is
clementine
a
a
fruit.
fruit?
Yeah,
Clementine is a fruit?
clementine is a type of
It's
orange.
a type of orange, yeah.
I never. Oh my gosh!
I did not know that.
Now I know that clementine's a fruit and the name.
And apparently she is the poster child for the peaches, for like the peaches brand thing. I find that really entertaining. I was so entertained by it that I didn't really think about the implicities of that later on.
You titled a whole video about that later, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
But
never mind.
but I think most significantly about that scene is when Alvin comes in and he talks to
Yeah.
Clementine. What did you think about their conversation?
Oh hell no. I mean, really?
No
What's
slack.
wrong with you?
He was definitely
No.
trying to appeal to you because he thought you was the little girl that you would be the easiest person to. He thought you'd be the easiest person to convince of.
Yeah, that
doing
goes
the best
against
what we do.
everything I think about.
Yeah.
No. If you don't work as a group, if you start to take sides like that, it'll just fall apart.
Oh, well then I'm already failing.
Remember, Ben was doing something like that with the other supplies, and look what happened there.
That's
This
true.
is a steady slope. You keep the group involved in what you're doing and planning because that's the sense of family.
Do you
Otherwise,
think
bad things
actually
happen.
that's a good point, Logan? Do you think that might have been one of the reasons why Clementine could have been against the whole thing because she knew what Ben did and she knew that wasn't.
Yeah, like that just led. It
didn't
was a
quite-
huge slippery slope thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be now. I know it definitely seemed like they were trying to do that for at least the player to see like if you did play season 1, if you would if you would have that previous experience, motivate your choice there. Because again, even though Ben was doing it for what seemed like as far as short term was a greater good for protecting them against the bandits, it led to complications. Big complications. Don't mind.
I think it actually plays off sympathy for a pregnant woman and her unborn baby.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, she's vulnerable, I need to take care of her more, stuff like that. But that doesn't work on me since I don't really like kids. So.
We're all
That's why I like
survivors.
your oh hell no moment.
We're all survivors. We're all vulnerable. We're all in this together.
What were you guys saying, Kathleen?
Am I the only one that gave her the food?
No, I gave her the two.
Well, no,
Okay.
I didn't outright say no, but I said I think the group should decide that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget if Alvin takes it anyway and says we'll talk about it later or not. But I do remember I didn't outright go along and say yeah, go for it.
Kathleen and Carson, what was the reasoning behind your decision with the food?
Because she was pregnant. That's why. Because she needed more food. So, she does. She needs more food, and so I just gave it to her. I don't know. I guess I didn't think as much as you guys are thinking about it. I didn't really think it was a big deal. So.
And it was mostly impulse for me. A lot of this.
It is kind of a big deal though because it is food, but no one found out about it. So.
We're all good.
She took me with food.
Keep it quiet. Nobody needs to know.
We got beans. We're good.
Carson, what was your reasoning?
My reasoning was like what Kathleen was. She was Alvin's wife. I'm assuming is Alvin and Rebecca are married. Alvin needed the food to give to Rebecca in order to feed her unborn baby, and felt like it's just this one small thing that I'm sure that everybody's not going to mind. Okay, you can give Rebecca food. She needs it.
Mm-hmm.
She's been tired. and she needs to feed her unborn child still, maybe we can overlook this thing. But if it was like, hey, I got this bunch of bag of food, can you keep it quiet between me and Becca and everybody else? Like, maybe the group should know that if it's a bunch of food, if it's like peaches, I didn't think it was a big deal.
I'm pretty much in line with what both David and Lucky Jack said, in that I personally had no issue giving her the food, but I didn't think it was just me to decide, because I wanted the group to be involved in the decision. And I think that if the group ends up denying Rebecca the food despite her being pregnant, I think it's more of a fault of the people themselves and not necessarily the system. It's not a fault of the system, it's the fault of the people making the decisions. Yeah. So that was my reasoning for choosing what I ended up choosing. With Alvin, it was just saying we should ask the group first. So
and then the hike.
I agree.
I thought it was called a lodging cabin.
It was logic. It looked like the big place where all the skiers go and
the
hang
ski
out.
resort thing.
Ski resort.
They don't necessarily live there, I don't think, but they definitely like hang out there while they're or something like that.
That was my favorite Luke and Clementine moment, was when she was climbing the ladder, and just the way that, I don't know, this is me kind of fangasming over Luke maybe, but when Clementine slips and one of the first thing that Luke says is, hey, look at me, like, just the words "look at me" just has that really awe kind of feeling.
And then you just told me not to look down.
Yeah, exactly. And then Clementine goes to look down. The look on Luke's face when she says that to him, I just thought was so adorable.
Like, good point. It was believable. It was relatable. It was a good feel.
Yeah, it felt a lot like she didn't say it to him, to be mean. I think she was saying it to him just because they were just bantering. They were just having a brother-sisterly banter.
Yeah, and that still supports what I was saying. I felt like Luke and Clem are having this brother-sister relationship. It's still supporting that at this point.
My biggest surprise was her saying that she hated her treehouse.
Yeah, I thought that too. I did not know if that was. I didn't know if that was before or after.
Just before she climbed the ladder.
Yeah, but no, and because I thought that I was like, I didn't know if the whole reason why she hates tree houses was because of she just hates them to begin with, or was it because of after the apocalypse when she had to camp out there?
That's a good point.
I don't know if that's anything.
I chuckled when she said that.
I know. I was like, well,
I hate it.
I was like, God.
Yeah, my whole life has been a lie. That's what I thought.
Because I thought you
didn't like that one. But
Clem, did you like the Salt Lake? Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Said,
I love that. That's such a kid answer. I love that.
Did you put a bug on his pillow? Yes.
I love that.
It's adorable.
Anybody love a new mechanic where you're looking through the binoculars and you can look around and everything and see what's going on?
We did that in episode 4, I think. And
the entire time I was looking for Molly. I was waiting for Molly to parkour her way down one of those trees, because that's where we found her last time.
So no, then you see these lights, and they're sporadically looking around, which I was thinking like, oh crap, it's Carver.
Yeah.
But when I saw more than one light, that made me worried, because I was like, oh crap, Carver brought his game. I'm in trouble.
And I think Telltale purposely put that crow at the top of there because those tend to be bad omens.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that the crow
what does the crow stand for bad ones?
Death, bad, just stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I was like, oh, I actually didn't think twice about that first time I saw it. I was like, oh, hey, Mr. Crow. Goes off. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
So now we come to this part.
The part I need to strangle. Are we going down the ladder? Or are we
I would like to hear quickly the first sentence, first thought, or in Angel Arts, the first sound that you made when you saw. We're not going to say yet for the people in the podcast, but for the when you saw or even had an idea of who was down there talking with your group.
It was a big gasp. Like, I think my first reaction was a big gasp because I was literally in mid sentence. I had a thought.
Yeah,
I was saying something, and as I came down the ladder, the first thing I saw was the hat. And then I saw the mustache. And as soon as I saw the hat and then the mustache, and this is me still up on the ladder, I just, like, it all just like registered in my head, and I gasped and I stopped. Like I actually, stopped. Pulled my hands off of the keyboard. And at that point, I stopped in such a way that the camera moved, so I could no longer see anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Wait, what did I just see?"
It looked like someone jump scared you. Like, whoa.
Yes.
What about you? What about you, Dave? What was your?
My first reaction was, "Who is this guy?" Because I didn't recognize him.
You didn't recognize, yeah.
Yeah, not for the first second.
Not
or so.
until you came down, right?
No. And even after that.
Yeah.
What about you, Kathleen?
My reaction was, I knew it, and I was like, I can't wait to film the podcast so I can just point my finger at you all and say I was right.
Go ahead and rub it in.
Okay, I know, I'm rubbing it in. I'm
will-
rubbing it in. But the thing is, the whole not showing someone's death
Yeah.
is a classic Hollywood move.
Yeah.
If you don't show someone's death, they're going to come back.
Yeah.
And so I will also, I'm done rubbing it in, I just was really happy because, I don't know, just seeing Kenny was just really
We let it do that.
relieving, and I don't know, I just want to give Kenny a big bear hug.
Aw.
What about you?
You did.
Well, okay, then quickly before we move on that, what about you, Carson? Your first thoughts?
When I was climbing down the ladder, I was more my group, like, what are they arguing about? There's something going on. I get to the group, and then I see Kenny, I was like, no!
Yeah,
Damn you, Kathleen!
Your first word was no. No.
I just
There's no way
Throw
you
him
can be
back.
alive.
Throw him back.
for me,
And then
For
I was
me,
like, give Kenny a big old hug. Come here, Kenny. Oh, I missed you.
For me, I was in the same boat as Angel. I got a quick glimpse on the ladder. I was like, I will say mine was no. I was like, no, no, and actually, I remember I got a little bit angry. I was like, no, he is not. No, I felt bad when I thought he died. You toyed with my emotions. You can't do that. That made no sense. And then the other big sound that confirmed it was when you walk up. I saw the subtitles. I heard his voice, and I was like,
yeah.
that's,
A lot
that was like.
a lot of Let's Players I saw recognize Kenny by the sound of his voice immediately.
Yeah. So, yay, everybody in the podcast watching this. Kenny's
I
alive.
was so angry at Kenny being alive, but
Oh, come on. How could you hate such an epic grizzly beard as his now? I was like,
Oh,
damn.
yeah.
First I was like, oh crap. Oh no, okay, that is a good
A
beard.
character's badassery is reflected in the facial hair.
Yes.
Oh,
David was
finally
very
someone said it.
I wonder how that would
Oh,
look
yeah.
for Recluse Yard.
See?
But I will.
You guys.
But I will admit, I actually did have to take a quick double take because I almost did not recognize him with a full beard.
Yeah, that's what I said. I watched him for a full 1-2 seconds,
Mhm.
and then that's Kenny.
Yeah.
It starts to sink in, and I'm like, good try, Hawk, but no.
I
As a
want to be
match-
part of the group. What? What's wrong?
I wonder.
Expected.
Oh god, how do I do that? I want to do that.
You uploaded apps and you click on it.
Ah, nuts! I can't do that now. Man. That actually did a double take there. Dang it!
Yeah, the stealth beards are more effective.
Yeah.
Gotta write that down on my Google board.
the stealth beard. So
I should totally get a full beard. But anyway, yeah, I saw him,
Works on
and then
Pikachu.
I just.
oh please, can we? Come on,
Oh.
come on, recognize.
I was
oh.
hoping it doesn't recognize Pikachu. That's too bad.
Could you put it in front of your face? There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh god. That
So,
gave
yes.
me Pikachu.
Okay, go ahead. As we were.
I'm not always a Pikachu, but when I am.
I'm now happy to have Kenny back. I literally was so happy to have him back, but I was also angry at Kathleen for him being alive. I was confused at the same time. I was thinking, how did he get out of that? He was pretty much dead. I thought he got. I thought he was like. I heard him, and I'm sorry to use the foul language. He's like, son of a bitch, and I was like, hey, did he get bit? I had to look back at that too.
I still think the only way he logically could have gone out of there is if he did what Lee did and got maybe some gunk on him or something like that. That's the only way, chronologically, looking how fast everything was moving. That's the only way he could have gotten out of there alive, because it was a cramped alleyway. There's no way he could have inched along because he had the big old debris of the balcony on one side and a bunch of zombies on the other. But now I'm getting ahead of myself. Screw it. I gave the dude a hug. It was such a touching scene for Clem to have familiarity after all of the craziness that's happened to her so far.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Kathleen, all of you guys, let's see how well you can keep a straight face. So I was trying to, actually I was going to ask Kathleen, so Kathleen, you would classify yourself as a Kenny fan, correct? You like Kenny a lot?
Yeah, I would. I wasn't a Kenny fan until the last couple episodes of season 1. But yeah, I'm definitely a Kenny.
So my question for you then, Kathleen, is you had mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that you weren't a big Nick fan because Nick had issues dealing with his emotions, and he allowed the emotions to cause him to make not so good decisions. Do you think that Kenny did the same thing when he was in season 1?
I think that some of the decisions that Kenny made, I could see where he was coming from, because I think Kenny made some decisions that no one else had the balls to make, you know? Like, yeah, so I feel like a lot of times Kenny acted out of a need to, like, keep everyone safe, and I feel like a lot of times that Nick kind of reacted emotionally, and yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you all have a different opinion, but.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Like, so whereas you could side with Kenny for some of the stuff why he was being motivated, but now I'm assuming from this that now on the other side you could not side with Nick on any of his decisions in episode 2 that he made.
Not really.
But it was a touching scene. What was the first thing that What was the first thing you guys did in conversation choice wise when you first saw Kenny?
I haven't seen any. I've seen this LP from several people, and I have not seen anyone who didn't pick hug. I haven't seen.
What about
anyone.
you, Kathleen?
Of course, I hugged him.
Okay. Yeah. It was so touching.
Even people who I knew didn't really like Kenny still hugged him as like their choice. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure it's a poll saying 99.9 of people hugged him.
Kathleen.
Plus more adorable Clem moments too.
Yeah.
You know?
It makes sense for Clem.
And also for anyone who probably didn't like him, they also noticed that he had a rifle and was a beard, and it's like we should probably get on his good side real quick again.
That's true.
I totally hugged him. And I was like, it was a good moment. Familiarity, isolation was starting to end again.
Yeah.
Now we will ask Lore Master.
I also wanted to add one more thing with the meeting of Kenny is as soon as you hug him, the music from season 1 starts playing.
Yeah, the Clementine's theme.
Clementine's theme plays in the background, which what?
I'm just trying to hum the chord.
Okay.
But now, Mr. Lore Master Rick, what was your opinion on that scene?
Well, no, I thought it was a really sweet scene. I just laughed and clapped my hands.
You were hysterical.
Yeah.
What?
I was figuring it out. It was like, hey, Kenny, I love you, man. Yay. Thank you. Let's go kill some people to save ourselves again.
And I was glad to see that Kenny's, what's the word? Not dependency. Not it was like his compassion for Clementine was not just out of wanting to owe Lee or whatever. Like he did, like the compassion was still there after all those months. And
right.
Now.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, in my view, it played out how I wanted it. In my Let's Play of season 1, when Omi started asking, who do you want to take care of Clementine when you're gone? I was like, I want Kenny to take care of Clementine when I'm gone. I was like, okay, with him alive, I'm pretty much okay with this. Lee's gonna be happy with me.
So I'm trying to remember the other people's name. There was Walter, and then there was
Sarita.
Sarita, that was Sarita.
Yes, Walter and Sarita. So you guys enter into the cabin, and then
first tension.
This is where the house divided gets its name, I think.
I was like, yeah.
Because they are asked to put down their weapons, and neither side are really ready to put down their weapons.
I said they're cool. They're cool.
I did the same.
Me too. I mean, me three.
I was
what about you?
I was in between. I told both sides to calm down. I was the middle woman.
The middle woman.
Carson, how
What
about you?
Carson?
I was like, I said what I trusted. I felt like because I knew Kenny and I knew that his group is gonna look to him and Kenny's looking to me to look at my group, which I just found apparently. I tried to tell myself we should trust him. I think like you, the middle person. Like, look, let's put our guns down and just have a good time. We're not gonna do any harm to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember my list specifically. Look back.
So everyone puts all their weapons down. Things seem to be going good. They have a Christmas tree set up, which I've lost track. I'm assuming this is maybe during the November, December time.
It might be.
Maybe?
Yeah. It was kind of cool that they actually had power. The turbine outside was providing them with power.
And it's at this point that I'm over the initial joy of watching Kenny, meeting Kenny, and I'm like, what about those lights? What about that guy we just killed down the bridge?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's with me the whole scene.
Right.
That's the only thing I think about. It's like, my God, we killed that guy.
There's
lights.
I love your reaction.
Wait a minute. That was a bad thing, wasn't it? I still had those negative feelings, or not. I still had that skepticism from the last podcast when all you were saying, "What if Kenny turns out to be Carver?" So that entire time after the high of medium was like, wait a minute, Kathleen, Angel Arch, they're all saying, what if he turns out to be the bad guy?
Yeah,
I can't be nice to him. I need to be more cynical, evil, all that. No, I'm still nice.
Well, let's talk about that conversation that we have with Kenny on the couch. You know, just you and Clementine and him.
My whole opinion on that is I wanted more conversation. It was too short.
I think you said that you were not satisfied with the explanation that he was given as to how he escaped.
It seemed almost too like retcon for me. Like it was, they didn't come up with either they didn't come up with a good explanation, or they're waiting even longer to give us a good explanation, because the explanation I got was not. No, you don't just say how Lucky. It's like, no, I know Lucky. You do not know Lucky.
In my LP, my explanation was he was cloned. He's a pod person. Like, that's not the real Kenny.
Yeah, totally sane.
Kenny?
That's not Kenny.
He's immortal.
He's immortal.
He's immortal.
It's the beard. It's a sure sign.
We're throwing aliens along with the zombies.
I still think the only way he probably could have gone out was the blood gunk thing. Until Telltale gives us a canon explanation, that is my explanation of what happened.
Were any of you also unsatisfied by his explanation of his survival?
I was definitely, because I looked like I said, I looked back on my own Let's Play, watched the video where he was dying, and I was like, there's no way out of there. There's no way. I need a rational explanation how he got out of there, or else I will be unconvinced that Telltale is just pulling their favorite characters from, and the first season just keep them alive.
I was just convinced that they would probably tell us later, so I just let it slide. So
he might have escaped maybe like through a manhole cover or something, but now that I think about it, it took a lot of effort for Lee to open that manhole cover. Like, he needed Helga to open that cover.
And an axe and all that.
The pickaxe thing.
Helga,
Helga was the pickaxe thing.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot you named that. I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was most disturbed in that scene by the Christmas music and the Christmas tree. I thought it was really creepy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it's just like
lulling into a false sense of security.
Inappropriate to have this like cheery music going on at this like really disturbing time. It almost felt like, you know, in horror films when like a lullaby plays, like that's how I felt the whole time. I was just like, what is going on?
Well, I saw it as a sanctuary sort of deal.
Yeah.
For me,
I was creeped out.
For me, the cheery music and the Christmas tree had a different effect. The effect for me was, oh gosh, like things feel great over here. What's going to happen? Like stuff's going to hit the fan pretty soon, and it's going to hit hard.
Oh jeez.
So,
Oh God.
But we have a touchy moment with Kenny, who was really nice, and
we meet Sarita, and apparently
Sarita.
Kenny has a new woman.
A
Which
new
I've-
woman in his life.
which I actually felt happy about. I felt happy for him that he was able to find someone to help to support him from the support. I thought that was a nice way to help complete whatever part of him felt, lost after what happened.
And going on Lucky Jack's statement there, I actually am kind of happy that they put in there, because when you see Kenny and after he loses his wife and his son, he's like goes rock bottom all the way to like depressed mode, where he's just kill me now, please.
It was bad.
Yeah, and when you see Sarita into his life, he just becomes a way different person, and I was so happy for that.
Because now he has like a new thing. He has something new to live for, something to fight for now, which I like.
Yes, exactly. But I'm glad they put her in there. And I don't know, just me saying, I have to say that Sarita's much more hotter than Katja for
You don't say that.
Well, what I was going to say, I think overall that Kenny has a thing for women with accents, because Katja I think Katja was, where was she from? She mentioned some, I don't remember.
Some European country.
Some European
Yeah,
country.
it's not European.
And Sarita, I believe, I wanted to say she was Indian. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to say she was. Which is interesting because the voice actor who plays Sarita is actually Asian.
Huh.
Indian is Asian, but I'm just saying more. I wasn't sure if she was Korean or not, but.
I'll look it up.
So while he's looking that up, what about you three? What did you guys think of the new relationship between Kenny and Sarita?
It's totally fine. Nothing really to comment on it, really. New woman, that's great. Let's carry
Well,
on.
it confirms that he and Sarita are not married with each other. They are confirmed that they are dating, and they are boyfriend and girlfriend as of right now.
Yeah, I wonder, how people use those terms in that world. Like, if people just refer to each other as partners, or because there's not really wedding ceremonies. I guess you could have a ceremony. It's not like you get a certificate. But then again, my opinion of marriage is a little bit different. I guess.
Okay, I did find out. Katja was actually Belgian American.
Belgian, that's what it was.
Belgian. Okay.
That's a good point, Kathleen, because I think that when you have a world where things don't necessarily last for very long, I don't know how keen people are to placing labels like this is my partner, this is my husband, this is my boyfriend or girlfriend, because this is the person that I think the way that Kenny puts it, actually he says this is my girl, which I think is probably more appropriate for given the situation.
Yeah, well,
not inappropriate to me.
Sorry, I guess I'm just used to people trying to come up with different terms for the relationships, because I live in a state where, you can't get married to someone of the same sex. So it's I'm used to people coming up with new terms, and I think that I kind of like that. I like how he was like, yeah, it's my girl. So.
I felt
It's my girl.
I think it was after like mob movie, like the mafia movies. I've always seen it as a bit rude, or treating them like not a person. Is that thunder over there, Asia?
I don't know. I don't know if it's below or above. Sorry, it seems to stop.
Hark, you should have hid your bodies in a more convenient location.
But I felt like it's a very minor thing. I know it just kind of caught me off guard. I was like, Kenny, you don't call it your girl. She doesn't belong to you. Because I've always seen it as I just always seen you don't call any person your something or something, just your girl.
Come on, Lucky Jack, he's from Florida.
Yeah,
I know, shit
like
just comes out of his
redneck thing.
mouth. Maybe, but no, that was all. Other than that, I think I really like what they have going, and it seems like a nice stability thing.
David,
so Sarita.
David, you were going to say something?
Yes, the girl thing, isn't that something like a redneck thing, a girl?
Probably.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I don't know my American slang all that well, so...
My girl here, you say.
It's definitely an American thing. I know that. It's definitely a big American thing. I know, at least back in the 40s. I remember.
Oh, and
If you say that in Swedish, that's a big no-no. That's the insult.
to say my girl.
Yeah.
It'd be different if he was like, "Hey, this is my squeeze." Like,
Yeah.
you know?
This is my
hey,
squeeze.
Hey, this is my lovely partner. Oh, hey, this is the woman who saved my life. Hey, this is I don't know, but I can see what he's trying to do. Is he was trying to go back. He was trying to have the
It's-
nice, simpler time or whatever. You get the idea.
It
Yeah.
fits the character, I think.
Yeah.
Alright, well, if I did not know this, actually, Sarita is Indian American, and I thought that was. So I'm thinking, okay, so Kenny's hooking up with many foreign girls lately.
Not many.
No, not man. Just the
Okay.
two we know
Few.
of.
I'm pretty sure, after Katja passed away, I'm pretty sure Sarita was the only other person that he was with. So,
Yeah, it says that she found him in a diner.
yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
And-
Holding out.
holding out. And apparently at the time he couldn't lift a fly even. He was very weak. So,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking when she says that, does she mean like he's like I'm just exaggerating here, like skin and bones? Or
No,
was he
but probably, but no, we could have just been really tired, or really
Oh,
just
okay.
exhausted. or something.
I think it could have been either of the two. Either he was just completely malnourished and she found him and rescued him, or he was just like beyond depression, like depressed beyond. Yeah.
What was going on with life? We'll go.
And
with
apparently, I'm assuming his beard was almost Gandalf status from how she worked with as well in the diner.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
go
what-
into that field yet, mister.
That's when she fell in love.
I
Yeah.
don't know why, but what was it?
Something about that
and then I
beard.
think